They say loyalty is rewarded. That if you give your blood, sweat, and soul to a company for nearly 3 decades, you walk out with respect, a handshake, and the retirement you earned. But what I got instead? A slap in the face wrapped in a severance envelope. I wasn't shocked when my boss, Greg, called me into his glass-walled office. He never liked me. Said I was old school, like it was an insult. Still, I didn't expect him to look me in the eye and tell me that after 27 years, they were letting me go 11 days before my retirement bonus would have kicked in. "No bonus for old folk," he said, pushing a paper across the desk. "Sign by Friday or get nothing." I looked at the paper. Then I looked at him. And I smiled. "My name is Raymond Carter, but most people at the office just call me Ray. I'm 63 years old, and up until last Thursday, I was a senior logistics coordinator at Harvardton Industrial, a mid-sized supply chain firm nestled in the concrete jungle of Chicago. I gave that place 27 years of my life, almost half my existence. When I joined in 1997, the office still used fax machines and pagers. I watched Harvardton grow from a cramped 4-room operation into a sleek high-rise filled with glass walls, coffee machines that cost more than my first car, and vision boards no one actually followed. I trained over 100 new hires, helped restructure the entire warehouse system, and even pulled double shifts during the company's first major expansion. My cubicle wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. Tidy, familiar. Pictures of my wife, Janet, and our kids, one in college, one already married. A small cactus my daughter gave me for Father's Day. A worn-out office chair that squeaked every time I leaned back, but somehow felt like home. I wasn't flashy or loud. I showed up every day at 8 a.m. sharp, left at 6, and never missed a deadline. Never stirred drama. Never called in sick unless I had to. I believed in doing things right. That if you showed up, worked hard, and treated people fairly, life would return the favor. Turns out I was wrong. I should have seen the signs. For months, the younger guys were getting promoted, people with shiny MBAs and louder voices. Greg, the new VP, came in last year with all the swagger of a man who thought leadership was just about looking good in a tailored suit. He didn't understand logistics, but he understood power. He started using phrases like streamlining talent and optimizing cost. He stopped inviting me to leadership meetings. Reassigned some of my long-time reports. My gut told me something was coming. But still, 11 days before my bonus? After 27 years? That Thursday, he called me in right after lunch. His assistant, a nervous kid named Brian, wouldn't even meet my eyes when he said, "Mr. Carter, Mr. Evans would like to see you in his office." When I walked in, Greg didn't waste time. "I'll keep this short, Ray. We're restructuring your department. Your position's being eliminated." I blinked. Effective when? "Today. You'll get 2 months severance if you sign by Friday. After that, we can't offer anything." He smiled like it was just business. Like I hadn't missed my daughter's piano recital in '06 to cover a weekend audit. Like I hadn't saved their warehouse from a massive inventory loss during the winter freeze in 2011. But you know what? I didn't beg. I didn't argue. I just looked at him and said, "Thanks, Greg. I'll think about it." Then I walked out. I wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot. When I stepped out of Greg's office, the hallway felt colder than usual. The buzz of keyboards and muted chatter in the open office sounded distant, almost like I was walking through a dream, or a nightmare I wasn't fully awake from. Brian, the assistant, tried to hand me a folder, probably filled with HR nonsense. I gave him a polite nod and walked past him, straight to my cubicle. The office had gone quiet. Word travels fast in corporate halls, especially when someone like me, quiet, dependable Ray, gets the axe. I sat down and stared at my cactus. It was still leaning a little to the left like it always did. Same desk, same view of the windowless wall. But everything had changed. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Janet. "Dinner at 7. Pasta tonight. Love you. She had no idea. And I didn't know how I was going to tell her. I opened my desk drawer and pulled out a little box I'd been saving. Inside was a custom-engraved watch. My retirement gift to myself. RC 27 years of service etched on the back. I bought it a year ago, right after the company confirmed I'd get the full retirement bonus if I made it to the end. I wanted something to remember it by. Now, it felt like a joke. I placed it back in the drawer and locked it. I stood, scanned the office one last time, and walked out without saying a word. No farewell email. No drama. Not yet. That night, I didn't tell Janet everything. Just said work was stressful and I needed a day to think. But I didn't sleep. My mind was running like a freight train with no brakes. The severance Greg offered was 2 months' pay, taxed to the bone. My retirement bonus? It would have been 6 figures plus lifetime health care. They waited until the last possible moment to fire me. It was intentional. Cruel. Calculated. But here's the thing about being underestimated. It gives you freedom. And I had a plan. The next morning, I didn't go to the office. I drove 2 hours west to a quiet town where Harverton had a storage facility they hadn't used in years. I knew the place well. Back in 2009, I managed a massive transfer of outdated machinery to that location. They never bothered to clear it out. And most importantly, they never bothered to audit it properly. I still had a gate key. No one ever changed the codes. Security? One old camera and a sleepy guard who recognized me and let me in without a second glance. I spent the next 5 hours in that facility, cataloging inventory, snapping photos, pulling old records. What I found: millions of dollars in obsolete equipment just sitting there, never written off, never reported. It was a ticking time bomb of tax violations and mismanagement. And Greg? He had no idea. He wasn't even at the company when this stuff was logged. But I was. I had the files, the signatures, the receipts. That night I told Janet everything. She was furious at first. You gave them everything, Ray. And this is how they treat you. I nodded. I know, but I'm not going to fight back the way they expect. Her eyes narrowed. You're going to expose them? Not yet, I said. First, I'm going to offer them a chance to do the right thing. Then I'll burn them to the ground if they don't. Janet didn't say anything for a long time. Then she poured me a drink and said, then let's make sure they regret ever crossing you. On Friday, I walked into the office one last time. Greg was in his usual smug mood. Oh, Ray. Glad you're back. Ready to sign? I handed him a folder instead. What's this? He asked, flipping it open. Just a small preview, I said. Detailed inventory logs from the Westwell storage facility dating back over a decade. Unreported assets. Improper write-offs. You'll see some signatures there. Yours are missing, of course. Mine aren't. His face paled. He flipped faster through the pages. How did you? I helped build this company, Greg. I know where the bones are buried. If you want a war, we'll have one. But I'm giving you a choice. Reinstate my retirement bonus. Officially. Quietly. Or I take this to board, the auditors, and the press. He leaned back, lips tightening. You're bluffing. I don't bluff. I turned and walked out. That night I got a call from an unknown number. A gruff voice on the other end said, Mr. Carter, we need to talk. Greg's in deeper trouble than you think. Meet me tomorrow morning. Don't bring anyone else. The next morning I was sitting in the corner booth of a faded diner just off the interstate. The kind of place where the coffee is always lukewarm and the waitresses know everyone by name. I didn't. At exactly 9 a.m., a man in a rumpled gray suit slid into the seat across from me. He looked tired, like he hadn't slept in days. Probably hadn't. "Mr. Carter," he said, extending a hand. "Name's Alan Brewster. Internal Audit. Harvardton's Internal Audit Division. The company's secret police. If Alan was here, it meant things were worse than I imagined." "I heard what you did," he said, lowering his voice. "The file you gave Greg? He didn't report it to compliance. He tried to shred it." I blinked. "Already?" Alan nodded. "And he's tampering with data. Had he scrubbed your name from the old inventory databases this morning. But someone tipped us off. Someone who respects you." I folded my arms. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I've been trying to nail Greg for months," Alan said, glancing around. "And with your help, I can. But you need to understand, he's not just a smug VP. He's embezzling, laundering contracts through ghost vendors. Your files, they're the crack in the dam." I let that settle in. I wasn't just dealing with a petty corporate jerk. I was staring down a man who was bleeding the company dry from the inside. Alan slipped me a flash drive. "These are mirrored logs from our side. They back up what you have, and more. There's a contractor named Trivex Solutions. Fake address, no tax records, paid hundreds of thousands from your department's budget. Greg authorized it." I felt the heat rise in my chest. My budget? My name? He was funneling money and putting the liability on me. "He's trying to frame me," I said. Alan nodded slowly. "That's the plan. You disappear with a severance. He spins the story as a cleanup. You take the fall, and he walks away richer." I sat back and let out a slow breath. Not anymore. By Monday morning, I had everything ready. I wasn't going to leak it to the press, not yet. I wanted to see their faces first. I wanted the board to know who I really was, what I really knew, and if they still chose to protect Greg, then I'd make it public. I requested an emergency board meeting. At first, they denied it. So I sent a single email. No drama, no threats. Just this line. "To the board. If I don't receive a response within 24 hours, I'll assume you're aware of the financial fraud committed under your leadership and are complicit. I will act accordingly." 15 minutes later, I had a time slot. The meeting was held in the top-floor executive suite, the one I'd never been invited to in all my years. Funny how quickly the doors open when you're holding a torch to the foundation. 12 board members sat around the gleaming table. Greg was there too, his jaw clenched, trying to act calm. I started with a slideshow. Not flashy, just facts. Photos, dates, signatures, inventory logs, payment records, ghost contracts, the fake vendors, Greg's authorizations. The room went silent. Then I played the recording, a short clip I'd taken during our last meeting. Greg's voice, "No bonus for old folk? Sign by Friday or get nothing." My voice, "Thanks, Greg. I'll think about it." "You won't get a better offer. After this week, you're just a nobody with a box of junk." When it ended, no one said a word. Then I dropped the final bomb. "I've also spoken to internal audit. Mr. Brewster provided supporting documents. If you'd like a full copy of everything, I've prepared flash drives for each of you." Greg stood. "This is a smear campaign. He's bitter because he got fired." I turned to him. "You didn't fire me, Greg. You tried to erase me. Big difference." The board's legal advisor cleared her throat. "Mr. Evans, we'll need to suspend your duties effective immediately pending investigation." Greg stormed out, red-faced and shaking. "Me?" I gathered my things, nodded to the board, and walked out without a word. But as I reached the elevator, one of the board members, Miss Hale, the only one who ever remembered my name, called out, "Mr. Carter, please wait." I turned. We'd like to formally reinstate your retirement bonus, she said. Full benefits, your pension, and an apology. I nodded once. Thank you, but I'm not coming back. She smiled. Didn't think so. That evening, I received an anonymous envelope at my doorstep. No return address. Inside was a single photo. It showed me from behind entering the Westwell storage facility. And underneath, a typed note. You're not the only one who knows where the bodies are buried. I stared at the photo for a long time. My back was to the camera, but the timestamp on the bottom corner made it clear. Someone had followed me to Westwell. Someone had been watching. I flipped the photo over. Nothing. No name. No clue. Just a typed note. You're not the only one who knows where the bodies are buried. Whoever sent this wasn't just trying to scare me, they were warning me. But why? Was it someone trying to protect me? Or someone who wanted me to back off? I sat with Janet on the porch later that night, cup of coffee in hand, a note lying on the table between us. The summer breeze rustled the wind chimes, but my head felt like a thunderstorm. She took a sip of her tea and said, Do you think this has to do with Greg? Maybe, but it feels different, I said. Greg's arrogant but sloppy. This is calculated. Janet reached over and squeezed my hand. Whatever's happening, you're not alone, Ray. I nodded, but deep down I knew this wasn't over. Greg was just the face of the rot. Something deeper was still crawling under the surface. The next day I went to see Alan Brewster. He looked tired more than before. I laid the photo in front of him. Recognize this? I asked. Alan's eyes narrowed. Whoever took that, they're not just some random goon. That timestamp is company formatted, which means they use internal surveillance tools. I blinked. Harvertons? He nodded. Only executives and a few IT leads have access to that level of archive security footage. Could Greg still be pulling strings? Alan shook his head. He's suspended. They pulled his access Monday night. But there are others who benefited from his contracts. Silent partners, backdoor deals. Anyone in particular? Alan hesitated. Then he leaned in. Martin DeWitt, head of procurement. Quiet guy, old school. Doesn't make waves, but he approved every fake vendor Greg submitted. Never questioned a thing, and his name shows up on several invoices tied to offshore payments. Martin, I remembered him. The kind of guy who always seemed invisible, always in meetings, but never saying much. Always around, but never truly seen. I need to talk to him, I said. Alan frowned. Ray, be careful. Martin's smart. The kind of smart that knows how to disappear things, and people. I won't provoke him. I just want answers. The next morning, I visited the Harverton building, not as an employee, but as a man with unfinished business. Martin's office was tucked in the far corner of the 14th floor. A glass door with a nameplate that hadn't changed in 2 decades. He was at his desk when I walked in, head down, typing, as if nothing was wrong in the world. He looked up slowly. Raymond Carter. To what do I owe the surprise? I wanted to thank you, I said, closing the door behind me. He raised an eyebrow. For signing off on all those Trivex invoices, I added. You made it a lot easier to connect the dots. His fingers stilled on the keyboard. Greg was the frontman, I continued, but you? You were the architect. Martin gave me a slow, careful smile. You've been busy. I've been thorough. A pause. Then he leaned back in his chair. And what do you want now, Ray? A cut? A clean slate? Revenge? I folded my arms. I want to know how far this goes. Martin chuckled. You really think you're in control here? No, I said. But I think you're worried. Otherwise, you wouldn't have sent the photo. He didn't blink. You think I'd be that sloppy? I reached into my pocket and pulled out a USB. This has everything. If something happens to me or my family, it goes to the board, the media, and the IRS. Automatically. Now he blinked. Walk away, Martin, I said. While you still can. He said nothing. I left his office without another word. That evening, Alan called me. Martin's cleaning house, he said. I just got notice he resigned. Effective immediately. I nodded. Good. But Ray, Alan continued, he didn't go quietly. He took copies of files, internal emails, ledger backups. He's covering his tracks. Let him run, I said. The damage is done. But in truth, I knew Martin wasn't running. He was repositioning. Men like him never stop unless they're forced to. A week later, I got a text from an unknown number. You won this round, Ray, but there's still one thing you missed. One thread left dangling, and if you don't find it, you'll lose more than a bonus. Attached was an image. It was a photo of my daughter leaving her university campus. The moment I saw my daughter's photo, everything else faded. My heartbeat, the quiet of the living room, even Janet's voice calling from the kitchen. The image was clear. Too clear. My daughter Lauren walking out of her university library, holding a coffee and laughing with a friend. It looked harmless, but the message was not. You won this round, Ray, but there's still one thing you missed. One thread left dangling, and if you don't find it, you'll lose more than a bonus. I knew what this was. Not a bluff, not a game. A message from someone who wanted to remind me they were still watching, and now they were watching the people I loved. I called Lauren immediately. She answered on the third ring, chipper as usual. Hey, Dad. Are you okay? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Did anything strange happen today? She paused. No. I mean, my phone died earlier, but other than that, nothing. Why? Nothing, I said quickly. Just checking in. But inside, my blood was boiling. That night, I told Janet everything. I expected panic. Instead, I saw something else in her eyes, steel. We go to the police, she said. I shook my head. There's no crime yet. No names. Nothing they can act on. Then what are we supposed to do, Ray? Wait for something worse. I looked out the window. The city lights flickered in the distance, cold and indifferent. No, I said. We finished what we started. The next morning, I met Alan again, this time in a neutral location, a co-working space downtown, rented by the hour, no cameras, no connections. I handed him the phone with the latest message and photo. His face went pale. They're threatening your family now? They're escalating. Alan ran a hand through his hair. This isn't just about money anymore. This is about exposure. Someone's desperate. Which means they're scared. He nodded. There's only one group that had full access to surveillance, to private schedules, to employee background data, Project Vigilant. I frowned. What's that? A shadow security protocol Greg set up when he joined. Internally, it was branded as a risk mitigation AI system. In reality, it was a black file program monitoring staff behavior, even personal lives. Martin helped set it up, but there's someone else who actually managed it. Who? Alan hesitated. Then he slid a name across a notepad. Gwen Renshaw, Director of Cybersecurity. I barely remembered her. Sharp, quiet, always behind a monitor. She was the ghost in the machine, the woman behind the firewall, and apparently the last thread I hadn't pulled. I sent Gwen a message through a secure portal Alan provided. Just 5 words. We need to talk. Urgently. No response for hours. Then finally at 2:13 a.m. I got a reply. You're close, Ray, but you don't understand the full picture. Meet me tomorrow. Alone. 4 p.m. Cloudline Cafe. Don't be late. The Cloudline Cafe was quiet that day. Minimal staff. Few patrons. The perfect place for secrets to be shared. Gwen was already there when I arrived, laptop in front of her, hair pulled back, eyes like flint. Raymond, she said without looking up, sit. I obeyed. She clicked a few keys, then turned the screen toward me. What I saw nearly made me stop breathing. Lines of data, employee records, surveillance logs, personal emails, even medical files. Project Vigilant was designed to track risk, Gwen said. But Greg and Martin repurposed it, turned it into a tool for leverage. They collected dirt, secrets, insurance policies. Anyone who might oppose them got profiled. And you ran it, I said quietly. I maintained it, she corrected. I didn't know how far they'd taken it until it was too late. And when I tried to back out, Martin threatened me. Told me if I ever talked, I'd go down too. Why are you telling me now? Because you're the first person to actually hurt them. And because I think it's time someone did the right thing. She handed me a flash drive. This has everything, she said. Every file, every threat, every payment. But once you open this door, there's no closing it. They'll come for you. And your family. They already have. Gwen looked away, then whispered, then finish it. Burn them all. I drove straight home with the flash drive, parked, walked up to the door, but before I could unlock it, a black SUV screeched around the corner. A man stepped out, eyes hidden behind mirrored sunglasses. He raised a hand. Mr. Carter, you need to come with us. Now. I froze. The man didn't raise a weapon. He didn't shout. But something about the way he moved, the stillness in his face, told me this wasn't some bluff or scare tactic. Behind them, the SUV's door opened. Another figure stepped out, an older man in a tailored coat with silver hair and sharp eyes. He looked familiar. Mr. Carter, the second man said calmly, please, we just want to talk. Who are you? My name is Charles Langley. I'm with the Department of Financial Ethics and Corporate Oversight. I blinked. That's not a real agency. It's not listed on Google, he admitted with a faint smile. But I assure you, we're quite real, and very interested in what you've uncovered. That didn't take me far. Just to a rented office space 2 blocks from my home, clearly set up for temporary operations. The place smelled like new paint and unopened coffee filters. Inside, Langley offered me water. I refused. We'd been watching Harverton for some time, he said, but we didn't have enough to act without risking blowback. Too many people involved. Too many hands in the pot. And now? Now we have you, he said. And more importantly, we have this. He held up the flash drive Gwen had given me. I didn't give that to you, I said. You were being followed, Langley replied. We intercepted the drive before someone else could. The people you're up against? They're not just corporate crooks. They're connected. Quietly funding shell firms, laundering money across state lines, even influencing local politics. And Greg? Langley scoffed. Greg was a pawn. Martin, too. The real players are outside the walls. But what you've done, it cracked the front door open. I leaned forward. So what now? You want me to testify? No, he said. We want you to disappear. I stared. We're moving on this soon, within days. But we need quiet. And you, Mr. Carter, are now a very loud name. If you stay in the open, they'll come after you, or your family, again. My blood ran cold. You're saying I go into hiding? For a little while, witness protection. Temporarily. We'll secure your wife and daughter too. But we need your cooperation and your silence. I took a long breath. And I said yes. 3 days later, I was living under a new name in a rental cabin tucked deep in the Oregon woods. It was quiet, almost eerily so, but I slept for the first time in weeks knowing Lauren was safe, Janet was safe, and justice, real justice, was finally moving. Gwen disappeared. Whether the agency protected her or she ran on her own, I never found out. Greg was arrested quietly. No news headlines, no corporate press release. Just gone. Martin? Still missing? But Langley told me cryptically we're closing in. Alan, my unlikely ally, sent one last message through a secure channel. They're falling, one by one. You lit the fuse, Ray. We'll handle the rest. 2 months later, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten, no return address. Ray. I used to think the company was everything. That if I stayed quiet and loyal, I'd be protected. You proved me wrong. I hope this gift brings you peace. GR. Inside the envelope was a check. $750,000. Untraceable, tax-free, clean. It wasn't hush money. It was gratitude. I eventually came out of hiding under conditions. The agency kept eyes on us for months, but the threat stopped. The shadows quieted. Whatever war had been waged in the dark, we won. I didn't go back to corporate life. I bought a small lake house, grew tomatoes, walked my daughter down the aisle, sat with Janet in the evenings and watched sunsets we used to miss while chasing deadlines and paychecks. And every now and then, when someone asked me what I used to do for a living, I just smiled and said, I was a logistics guy, retired early. Because the truth? That's a story no one would ever believe anyway. What's on your mind? How is it possible for a low-level worker like you to visit such a posh hotel on paid leave? Do you mean me? Authorization to take paid time off? That was merely to give you the impression that you were off. I never imagined that you would genuinely take a break to visit a location like this. This incident happened the day I gave my mother a Mother's Day present of a stay at a 5-star hotel. My haughty boss had purposefully waited for me at the hotel, shouting and mockingly staring at me. He didn't know, however, that my mother is not your typical woman. He has no idea how this will significantly impact his life down the road. My name is Michael Anderson. I was raised by my mother in a single-parent home after my parents divorced when I was a small child. I understood early on how busy my mother was, putting in countless hours to support us. I was always the last child picked up from daycare. Where is my mother, teacher? Has she not arrived yet? A little more time. What do you think about playing with the blocks? But all my friends have already gone home. Then let's build a big car with the blocks together. Since I was constantly waiting for my mom late into the night, the daycare teachers must have felt sorry for me. To keep me amused, they consistently recommended enjoyable activities. Not much changed even after I started primary school. The after-school program was fee-based and could only be extended until 6 p.m., in contrast to the daycare, which kept children until 7 p.m. I would walk home alone myself in the dark if my mother was running late. My friends' parents would occasionally worry and drop me off at home, but it just made me feel worse because I felt embarrassed that they had seen our empty, dark house. Often I would run home by myself. However, I never told my mother how lonely or frustrated I was. I knew how hard she was working even as a child. I swallowed my loneliness and kept my feelings to myself since I vaguely understood we were in debt. I started playing sports as a way to escape my loneliness as I got older. I was able to forget all of my problems by concentrating on exercise. I dealt with my early loneliness in this way. We progressively had a better living status because of my mom's hard work. During my free time in high school, I worked part-time jobs in addition to playing sports. However, because of my mom's efforts, it was only for pocket money like my friends, not to cover our living expenses. I began to consider my future schooling at that time. Mom, I've been thinking about what I want to do after high school. Just before a parent-teacher conference, I brought up the topic with her. She surprised me by saying, "A private university might be tough, but if you want to go to a state university and study what you like, that's fine. That's if you want to pursue higher education, of course." Really? Of course. You've been through a lot. I want to let you study as much as you want. Thanks, Mom. I'm going to college. I'll work hard and get into a state university, so don't worry. I'm sorry, Michael. Thank you. No, thank you. I chose a state university within commuting distance and studied hard, balancing with my part-time job. During the parent-teacher conference, my homeroom teacher assured me, "If you keep up your current grades, you can definitely aim for it." With this endorsement, I confidently faced the entrance exams. My efforts paid off, and I was accepted into a state university. As a college student, I didn't slack off in my studies, balancing them with increased work hours. I was determined to make the most of the opportunity my mom had given me. I crammed my 4 years of college with as many courses as possible, earning an abundance of credits. At the same time, I was actively involved in extracurricular activities, which allowed me to enjoy a fulfilling 4 years in college. After graduating, I got a job in the textile industry. Working in textiles required not only a delicate sensibility, but also the physical strength to handle large amounts of fabric. Thanks to my sports experience during my student years, I was fairly confident in my physical abilities. As for developing a delicate sensibility, that was something I hoped to improve over time. Parker, the head of the sales department, once told me, "Sense is honed in the field, so don't worry about it." This advice made me think that while career advancement was good, I wanted to stay in the field as long as possible. Once you get promoted, you tend to do more paperwork and attend more meetings than actual field work. When I shared this thought with my peers, one of them said, "You sure are an odd one. I guess most people want to advance their careers quickly and work in a comfortable office environment." It seemed I was a rare type. I worked diligently under Parker's guidance, sometimes even meeting the demanding requirements of our clients. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say I dedicated most of my weekdays to my job. I was always thinking about the company, even in my sleep. Then one day, something unexpected happened. Cancer. Yeah, I debated whether to tell everyone, but I thought it's better to be honest rather than create unnecessary speculation. This is shocking. But it's in the early stages, so it's not an immediate concern. Parker called everyone together before work to share his cancer diagnosis. Although it was caught early and treatment seemed feasible, he decided to retire early due to his age, which was over 55. "I'm sorry for the sudden news. I'll ensure a smooth transition so as not to cause any more trouble." "But are you sure you're okay? Can you be cured?" "I can't say for sure. There are no absolutes in medicine. But since it's early, the chances of recovery are high. Don't worry. I won't go down that easily. Make sure you visit me from time to time." Overwhelmed, I couldn't help but cry, and Parker gently patted my back in comfort. Due to his illness, he did a brief handover and left the office a few days later. His replacement was Smith. "All right, everyone. I'm your new boss from today. I expect everyone to work hard. No more lax work like before. Be prepared." His greeting conveyed a sense of danger, and everyone frowned, but Smith seemed oblivious. He was not expected to be promoted to this position. To be frank, he wasn't really known for his competence, but due to Parker's sudden retirement and the seniority system, he ended up getting the position. He disliked being told what to do and barely nodded in agreement to Parker's instructions. He was also known for losing his temper, yelling at juniors, and had a reputation for not being a pleasant person. Until now, Parker had always kept Smith in check, so there had never been any major problems. But after Parker left and Smith got promoted, there seemed to be no one left to restrain him. Furthermore, Smith was overly tyrannical, to the point of being abusive to the employees. When I'd say, "Have a good evening," and try to leave on time after finishing my day's work, Smith would ask in genuine surprise, "Hey, Anderson, why are you leaving now?" "Well, it's time, and I finished my work for today." "What are you talking about? Just because you finished today's work doesn't mean you can just leave. There's always more to do. But all of you two don't just focus on today's work. Look ahead and keep moving forward. That way, we can secure more contracts, which is good for the company. Work as much overtime as possible. Those who leave on time are incompetent. Work harder." Smith proudly declared this in front of everyone, leaving us dumbfounded. When a junior colleague tried to take paid leave, Smith confronted him aggressively. "Hey, you applied for leave? What were you thinking?" "Well, yes, I did." "What kind of thinking is that? Everyone else is working hard, and you think you can just take leave? Nonsense. If you have time to spare, work." "Well, I have a family event that day. I've taken leave before without any issues." "I don't care. I'm the boss now. Forget how things were done before. No more taking leave." His overly tyrannical behavior confused everyone in the department. At one point, he imposed a senseless punishment. "Who comes in at the last minute like that? As a penalty, come in an hour early from tomorrow and clean the office." Another time he announced, "We've hit this month's target, but it's not enough. Tomorrow is Saturday, but we'll have a meeting, so everyone must attend." As usual, we all voiced our concerns, but Smith didn't care. It seemed he had been frustrated about not getting a position until now. After he finally got promoted to be a manager, he lashed out his pent-up frustrations on his subordinates. "Hey, Anderson, how are you doing?" "Good evening, sir. Just the usual, I guess." "That's good. But being in your 30s and still just a junior employee, aren't you a bit too incompetent?" "Huh?" "That's the lowest of the low. If you're still there at your age, it says a lot about your future, doesn't it? It's only a matter of time before the newbies overtake you. Well, anyway, just make sure you don't get overtaken by the newcomers. And of course, I expect you to work overtime today as well." With a pat on my shoulder, Smith walked away, leaving me with nothing to do but sigh. A few months after Smith's arrival, one day happened to be close to Mother's Day. So I'm thinking of splurging on a Mother's Day gift. "That's nice. It's your first Mother's Day since you started working, isn't it?" "Yes, so I'm thinking of giving a short trip or something as a gift, even if it's somewhere nearby." "Wow, that's wonderful. Your mom will be so happy." "But then I'd have to do the same for Father's Day, right? I'm thinking about where to go. They both love spa resorts, so maybe that would be nice." Overhearing this conversation between a new female employee and a third-year female employee, I glanced at the calendar. Right, Mother's Day was coming up. Every year I take my mom out to dinner, but maybe this time I should splurge on a night at a luxury hotel. With that in mind, I hurriedly took action. I searched on my phone during lunch, and made an early reservation. Immediately after returning to the office, I applied for paid leave using the internal company form. Although I wanted my mom to relax, it was clear she wouldn't go alone if I just told her to. Well, staying overnight with a parent at this age might feel a bit embarrassing, but it should be fine once in a while. However, applying for paid leave, which used to be routine under Parker, had become impossible since Smith took over. I wondered what he would say this time, but staying in the situation would only increase dissatisfaction among my colleagues. Therefore, I decided to boldly apply for leave on a weekday. The days leading up to the trip were relatively calm. I was sure I would be reprimanded for requesting time off. I even prepared myself to be scolded in front of everyone. But surprisingly, nothing was said. Even more astonishing, my application was approved. The next day, "Anderson, you seem to be doing well lately. Did anything good happen?" I guess it's just the usual." "Good. Keep it up, just as usual." His overly cheerful mood was almost scary. But if things continued this peacefully, I couldn't ask for more. Yet I couldn't shake the feeling that it was calm before the storm. Then came the day of the trip. I enjoyed sightseeing around the hotel area with my mom in the morning and headed to the hotel in time for check-in. "Wow, can we really stay at a place like this?" "Yay! I'll check us in now. Just wait here." "Thank you." While my mom excitedly explored the hotel's grandeur, I headed to the reception to check in. However, I stopped in my tracks when I saw someone who shouldn't have been there, Smith. My feet were frozen as I saw Smith hurrying over to me. "Hey, Anderson, why are you here?" "Smith, what do you mean, why?" "How can a lowly employee like you use paid leave to come to such a luxury hotel? Are you kidding me?" After he started to berate me, he grabbed my collar as if he was furious. Confused, I managed to reply, "But you approved my leave request." Indeed, my leave for that day had been approved by Smith. Why then was I being yelled at like that at the hotel of all places? "That was just to lead you on. I never thought you'd actually take time off to come to a place like this." "Lead me on?" "I'm sorry, I don't understand what you mean." "What? Are you messing with me? Ha! I'd love to see the face of the parent who raised such an incompetent person who doesn't even understand their own position." "What? Their face?" "The face. I want to see the face of a parent who raised such an incompetent person like you." Smith, seemingly pleased with himself, continued, "You're just a permanent junior employee, never doing any unpaid overtime and showing no desire for promotion. What's wrong with you? Don't you want to get ahead? If you do, you should be working overtime every day. Show some determination and grit. Otherwise, the higher-ups won't recognize you. Well, someone as incompetent as you probably won't understand what I'm saying, right? Sorry for talking about complex stuff." He ranted just as I was feeling the strain of my surroundings and thinking about how to handle this situation. Michael, my mother, having heard the commotion, walked over. Then it suddenly clicked for me. I turned back to Smith. "Then Smith, cut. My parent is right here saying this." I stepped aside to reveal my mother, causing Smith to freeze in place. Well, hello there. I believe this is the first time we've met within the company, isn't it?" Why is the chairwoman here?" "You mean parent? What does this mean?" "Oh, you knew about me? I thought I was hardly known within the company. I rarely make an appearance." "Well, of course. How could I not know the face of the chairwoman? It's impossible not to." "Well, that's flattering. Yes, my mother is the chairwoman of our company." It seems Smith knew of my mother but wasn't aware of our parent-child relationship. In front of my mother, he completely shrank back. "By the way, Smith, I've heard everything. My son seems to be under your care. However, what he's told me about you seems to be true." Well,
Um,
Paid leave is an employee's rightful entitlement. You have no grounds to fault him for that. And what's this? Unpaid overtime? Overtime for promotion? Aren't you being abusive?
Eve,
Listen, work isn't just about mindlessly putting in hours. It's about efficiency, doing things effectively. Without proper balance, you can't perform well. I thought that would be common sense for someone in the workforce. But perhaps I was mistaken. My mother confronted Smith with a smile, but her eyes were anything but amused. He was completely terrified by her presence. However, I had no intention of stopping her. In fact, part of me wanted her to be even harsher. My mother, who has always managed our company, can be incredibly intimidating when she's angry. Her mouth might be smiling, but her eyes were anything but that. They were so cold it felt like they could chew you to the bone. Well, never mind. I'm here for personal reasons, not business. I don't have time to bother with you any longer.
a chairwoman. Is there something else you need from us?
No, nothing at all. Good. I'll inform you of your consequences later. Be prepared. Michael, let's go.
Yes.
Seeing my mother so enraged after a long time, I broke out in a cold sweat. Carefully avoiding provoking her further, I responded and walked past the stunned Smith. Glancing at his expression as we passed, he looked utterly defeated.
After enjoying the trip with my mom, we returned home feeling very satisfied.
I found Smith's seat at the sales department gone when I went back to work 2 days later. It turned out my mother had contacted HR from our hotel. Smith's unreasonable treatment of his subordinates came to light. Originally, HR had considered him unsuitable for the managerial position, viewing him as a stopgap until a more suitable person was found. Of course, if he had produced results, he could have stayed. But his behavior made that impossible. Misinterpreting the position given to him as his own merit, his tyrannical behavior resulted in an immediate transfer. He was sent to the logistics department.
It's a physically demanding and hot area, mostly staffed by young, strong men.
Smith to logistics? I can't imagine he'll keep up. He's clearly aiming for a voluntary resignation. Well, considering what he did, he got his just desserts. Anyway, I'm relieved we can work efficiently again now that he's gone. Yes, no more unnecessary overtime or weekend work. It's nice to be back to peace. Despite various rumors, nobody genuinely expressed concern for Smith. Perhaps he was now sweating profusely in the logistics department, feeling small and insignificant. I didn't have an ounce of sympathy for him. The sales department decided to leave the managerial position vacant for a while, with a manager temporarily taking on the role. We apologize for the inconvenience caused by this temporary personnel decision, the HR department representative said, even coming to the sales department to apologize. Additionally, my mother, though retired from the front lines as a chairwoman, decided she needed to keep a closer eye on the company's operations. The current CEO, who had been my mother's competent right-hand man for many years, also sent an apology letter after hearing from her. In the sales department, we were just glad to have our peaceful work environment back, so much so that we were almost embarrassed by the apologies from various departments. Smith quit the company shortly after his transfer to logistics. Whether it was a move aimed at inducing his resignation, I don't know, but working under younger employees, along with the physical demands, were likely too much for him. He was really put through the ringer there. He was a man who hated being told what to do after all. He wasn't going to last, was he? These rumors faded within a week. Later, I was called to the reception room by my mother.
Michael, sorry for calling you in so suddenly.
No, it's okay.
But what's up? Is there something else?
No, it's not that. I just think it's time for you to accept a promotion.
A promotion?
Yes, I'm truly grateful that you joined our company. I know you've continued to work on site following former manager Parker's advice. I understand you have your ambitions and are dedicated to your goals, working with pride in your current role.
I get all that, but why the sudden promotion talk?
It's not sudden. I've been thinking about it for a while, and it's not just me. The CEO and HR department agree.
What? That was a shocking revelation for me.
Since you joined the company, we've never really talked about this. So let me say it now. I'd like you to work towards becoming the next CEO.
I've always thought about taking over the company one day, but I still have so much to learn. And I still want to be out in the field.
I understand. But our company's work isn't just about field work. Sure, there are things you can only learn and experience in the field, but there are also things you can only understand and learn from leading and commanding from above. I understood what my mother was saying. I thought so too when I first joined. I was fully intent on eventually taking over as the CEO. However, after working for 10 years in the textile industry, I started to doubt if I was up to such a big role. I asked my mother for some time to think and called former manager Parker during the weekend. He had successfully undergone surgery and was then living a peaceful retirement.
I haven't been in touch for a while. It's been a long time. Indeed. I consulted Parker about the offer and my feelings.
Honestly, I'm more anxious right now. I'm worried that standing at the top with such a mindset will only make everyone uneasy. Parker calmly asked, "Do you have time now? It's your day off, right?"
Yes. Then bring the highest quality textile sample you have to my house.
I rushed to get the best sample I was handling and went to Parker's house. When I showed him the sample, he smiled and said, "You've really come to understand, haven't you? Your experience in the field is evident. I think you'll be fine." His words resonated with me. I felt recognized for the first time, and it was overwhelming.
Thank you. I truly thank you.
That gratitude gradually turned into confidence. Encouraged by Parker, I decided to accept my mother's wishes. I was anxious about what everyone would think of an inexperienced person like me getting promoted. But when I was actually promoted to manager, everyone was happier than I was.
Anderson, congratulations. I'm as happy as if it were my own promotion.
It's about time. I always wondered why you weren't in a managerial position until now.
Congratulations.
Everyone, thank you. I might not know much beyond field work and might cause some trouble. No trouble at all. We all know how much you contribute to the company. Don't worry, we'll support you wherever we can.
Thank you. Really, thank you. The sound of applause was heartwarming.
With my promotion to become a manager, the former manager was promoted to become a director. The sales department was again united, ready to move forward together. As a manager, I started taking a more active role in training and guiding the team. Although I've been asked by my younger colleagues to teach them, I was mostly out on the field and not often in the office, especially the new female employee whom I splurged on for Mother's Day. She seemed to have a lot of questions for me. I hadn't been able to teach much before, but now I decided to share my knowledge and sales expertise with my juniors. Thanks to that, our company's performance has been on the rise.
Yes? Is there something else you're unsure about? No, it's not that. Just, do you have a girlfriend, manager? What?
I was actually asked that question by that new female employee, leading to teasing from the others who'd say, "It looks like Anderson is finally going to have a spring of his own." After several years of hard work, I was promoted to become a director, having been recognized for my performance as a manager. Initially, I was full of doubts about this role, but now I'm completely resolved to take over as the CEO when the time comes. This change in me is thanks to my mother, who has always worked hard since my childhood, Parker, whom I respect, and all my supportive colleagues. Their backing has become my confidence, contributing to the company's growth.
Anderson! Mr. CEO, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
How's the director position treating you? I'm constantly realizing how much I still have to learn.
Haha, you're really modest, quite different from your mother. The CEO and I eat and go for drinks together. He has worked under my mother for a long time. I want to learn as much as I can from him now about his thoughts and the company's vision for the future. I don't want to rely on my mother's influence. I want to earn my place through my own abilities. Even if it's hard and humble work, I'm committed to it. Perhaps because of this attitude, the CEO shares various stories with me, including his experiences with my mother and his own failures.
I also make sure to visit home occasionally and listen to my mother's advice.
You look much more mature and manly now. Maybe it's a parent's bias, but you seem so dependable.
Hearing her say that makes me feel like it's true.
Until now, I focused solely on fieldwork and my own responsibilities. That was enough, and that's what was expected of me. But as my role and responsibilities grew, the perspective I needed changed. It's inevitable and something I must adapt to. Of course, I have to look at things from a higher level now, but it's also crucial to turn to the ground level perspective, ensuring the staff's comfort and the appropriateness of human resources management. It's only because I've been on the field that I can think this way. My field experience has indeed broadened my horizon. Yet, I'm still inexperienced. Newly appointed as a director, the thought of succeeding as a CEO seems presumptuous. But for those who believe in me and follow me, I want to become confident and capable of that role as soon as possible. I still have much to learn from my mother, Parker, the CEO, and everyone else. I'll keep my feet on the ground and work to become a CEO who won't be ashamed of his roots.
That's what I'm thinking now.